Yeah, welcome back to another sit-down video. Of course, I am sat down for this one at this point. And given that we are a week away, well, as we're recording this, the World Cup is right around the corner, and I've got two people here who are better expertise than me. We've got Jake Topliss at Turnstile. We've got Matt Holtby, who of course both been on the channel, on my channel, and given that it's a World Cup, and normally we normally situate World Cups with the summer, which is great for beer gardens and that. But it's a Winter World Cup; it's something a bit different. But in terms of everything that you've seen, guys, what have you made of all this build up to the World Cup?
There hasn't really been much of a build-up, I don't think.
No, I'd agree. It's a strange one because it's like now it's middle of the season, so the build-up's kind of starting now. Now the Premier League and
Yeah,
Championships kind of finished. You kind of seeing more of the adverts on TV, and the the build-up's kind of maybe been overshadowed by the first half of the Premier League. It does feel strange having it now at this time of year. Obviously, like you say, you expect to see beer gardens and hot weather and all kind of tournament football. But it's it's a strange one to kind of mid-November kind of switch to World Cup football. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of build up this week. The squads have been announced, so it's gradually getting there. So, but yeah, to think that it's a week away, you kind of have to go, hang on a second, and yeah, get ready for it.
yeah. I mean, you don't really look forward to a international tournament until the domestic season's over, really.
Mm.
And obviously, being in the middle of a domestic season where the top leagues are now having a break, we've still got the lower leagues and non-league as well,
Mm.
which we're probably still going to go to. I mean, I'll still be going to watch Mansfield if possible. I'll be going in a couple of weeks when they play Wednesday, and that's the day after an England game.
Mm.
So it does feel strange. And obviously, you've got people boycotting because of Qatar and all of its, sort of stuff. And obviously with how they were rewarded it as well. Are they going to pull it off? I don't think so. I really don't. But I don't know. I mean, obviously we've spoke about it before this domestic season started, saying hey, we're going to win the World Cup and it's coming home. It's going to be Christmas #1, and I still want that to happen. But I'm feeling relatively flat for a World Cup, even though it's just around the corner. We're 8 days from England's first game. 8 days. It's a week tomorrow. Like,
Mad.
and here we are. Like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know really. It's a strange one.
It's strange when you think about it because, like, when you think about how the Premier League's come about this season, where there's been so many great games, there's been real good, passionate, we've seen Liverpool, Liverpool turn over City, we've seen, we've just recent Brentford beating City, and the like, Man United do, having their wobble and everything else, Chelsea having their wobble, and it
Yeah,
has been overshadowed. You're right. I think the World Cup, we always associate with summer, and I always get really excited when that period in like June, that kind of
yeah,
2 or 3 weeks before the World Cup, you get really excited because you're like, England are good, England have always, England in
yeah,
this group game and everything else. I always like to see, the different countries, all right, Russia, and the last tournament that we had was, it was fantastic. England getting to the semi-final and all that. But I think for me this season, I don't think a European side is going to win it. I think a South American side is going to win it.
What makes you think that?
I just think it's the climate. I think it's the heat as well. I think they'll be maybe better adapted to that. I know you like to be France's, your Germany's, your Spain's are going to be up there, but I think it could be Brazil, haven't won it since 2002. Argentina haven't won it since 1990? I believe it was the last time they won it.
No, I think it was 86.
86. Yeah, it was 86. Yeah, you're right.
Italian 90 was Germany.
Germany.
It should have been us.
Oh no, that's a whole different topic. That, but I do think it could be Brazil's time. It really could be. But what do you guys think? Who's your money on winning the World Cup?
I was going to say Brazil. I think if you look at their squad, it's possibly the strongest squad, maybe on paper, going to the World Cup. They've got threat all over the pitch. Trying to remember who's in their group, but I can see them reaching the final. I think with Brazil, they've had good squads in the last few World Cups, and I mean 2014, you thought it was their year. That semi-final against Germany was like one of the most bizarre games I think I've ever watched. But I think they always get so far and then either stumble or the most bizarre, game happens. But I just got a feeling about them this year that I just think they're going to be a bit too strong for most teams they come up against. And I can see them going on. I can see maybe France, because I think they've got a strong squad, but looking at the teams, looking at the groups, I would probably say I can see Brazil going all the way this year, just because of the strength that they've got. And you're right about the climate. That it's going to be one of those where you may get a few surprise results because of where it is. But yeah, I'd probably say Brazil.
I'm going to say Argentina.
Oh, controversy. Why them?
I don't know what it is about Brazil. I don't want Brazil to win, to be honest, because I don't like Neymar. Don't like him. I don't want to use bad language, but I just think he's a complete tosser. I do. I just don't like the guy. I think he's one of the most overrated players we've ever seen. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's as good as Ronaldo or Adriano was. He'll never be as good as Pele. He's far from it. I don't think he was as good as Robinho on Robinho's peak days. Not anywhere near as good as Ronaldinho. He's not scored that many amazing goals. He'll score goals, but he's playing for PSG, who you could argue is a one-team league. No disrespect to the French league. He did well for Barcelona. He's got good players around him. Got good players around at PSG. I don't think he's good enough to carry a team. I just think the media overhypes him a bit. I think Brazil will probably lose out in the semi-final. I think Argentina, this is Messi's last dance. I think he's going to give it his all. I think the team are going to give it their all. I know they may have struggled over past tournaments, but I think Argentina are going to really go for it this year.
Well, they'd be one of my picks. I think they'll make it to the semis. But I think when you look at Brazil, and you're right, Matt, on the team on the paper, when you've got two world-class goalkeepers in Edison and Alisson, and you think, wow, who do I start? I think he's going to start Edison over Alisson. I think just because I think the way. I know, but I think that's just how it's going to be. I think he seems to prefer Edison to play as a number one. But you're right. Alisson, has been fantastic for Liverpool this season. He's really kept him in most of the games.
You'll probably assess it of how much they'll probably have the ball. I guess if they're going to have the majority of the possession, play quite high, you're going to play probably Edison. in that aspect of, because he's basically a defender at times when you're playing like that. But the form Alisson's in, I would probably say that with his form, with Liverpool, the way they've been and how he's played, it's a really tough one for them to decide. Obviously, it'll be an interesting one because if anything went wrong, they'd maybe look at that and think, what if the other one was playing? So it's going to be that with Brazil. I guess the one thing that could let them down is the pressure on them. That they've got so much talent, like Vinicius Junior, got like players like that you expect to maybe see that flourish in this kind of tournament, like make a statement. It could be a negative, the amount of pressure that's on them going into it. But yeah, I think there's going to be, especially for Brazil, there's going to be, I think on paper, and I expect them to do well, but I guess that what team is selected could have that impact.
Yeah, I think I've always said this is Vinicius Junior's breakout tournament for me. I think he's going to be an excellent player. I do agree with you, Jake. I think Neymar really should have been the guy to take over when Messi and Ronaldo finally retire, but he's never been like that.
Nowhere near.
His ego's got the best of him, and that's the problem. And unfortunately, you're right. I think when he was at Barca, he was fortunate to have Messi and Suarez to be, were just unbelievable.
He's just a sponsorship front man. He's nothing special. I'm sorry, I don't know what the hype is about, and people obsess over him. He's not that good. He's more of a fashion model with his pink hair and his fancy jackets and shoes and leather. He's not a footballer. Not a footballer.
I could see you pull off pink hair.
Girls.
Yeah, you could pull it. Well, speaking of pressure, then England, then it's a big tournament. Southgate potentially, and I'm going to say this could be his last World Cup if he doesn't do well. It's a big touchy subject. I'm going to put that out there. I don't mind a bit of controversy, but for you, when you looked at that 26-man squad, what was your thoughts?
I think Ward-Prowse might feel a bit unlucky, but again, I don't think he'd be too hard done by. Ivan Toney will probably definitely feel unlucky, regardless of yesterday's winners. And I think there's also a bit about Tomori, but I don't think Fikayo Tomori gets into this team until he's back in the Premier League. He's playing for AC Milan. It's not a hard league as the Premier League. If he wants to play for England, he needs to play in the Premier League, I think, Tomori. I know we've got Bellingham playing for Bundesliga, but Bundesliga is a stronger league than Serie A is.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think it is, personally.
Oh. See, I've always said in the last maybe year or two that Serie A is probably the second best league to the Premier League, just because of the amount of teams. Good team, Napoli, Inter Milan, AC. All right, Juventus are not having a good season, but I think there's at least two or three teams that could win it. I think the Bundesliga, there's always only really been one team that could win it. All right, you get your Leipzig and your Dortmunds. They go and they try and challenge Bayern, but at the end of the day, it's really only Bayern that's going to win the Bundesliga for me. But I think you bring up a good point, because there's been a lot of people on social media talking about, surely to get in the England team you should play in the Premier League. I don't think that's the case. Maybe 5-6 years ago.
I don't mean it in that way about Tomori. I mean, I just don't think he's had the sort of pressure playing for AC Milan that you get when you play in the Premier League. If you know what I mean, that's what I think. I think if you stick him in Chelsea's team where he was playing, I think you probably see the best of him.
He's got to be in the right manager. I think that's the thing. I don't think for me that Well, I don't think, Frank Lampard got the best out of him.
No,
I think Graham Potter could have done. It's hard to say. It's easy to
Klopp
say that
could.
now. Oh, definitely Klopp. Yeah. I think his managing
Could do with him.
skills for me, he'd be for me. If Liverpool turned around and said, "Look, we're signing tomorrow," I think that'd be a great signing.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I
you
mean,
know,
look at other players that haven't. Joe Gomez has been left out. Good decision. Not been good enough this season.
no.
I'm not a fan of him anyway, personally. Won't mind if he sold him, Klopp, to be honest. That's my opinion on Gomez. Jarrod Bowen, not been good enough this season. For West Ham, not been good enough for England anyway. So I don't think there's any really hard done by players except for Ivan Toney, maybe. But you look at the players above Ivan Toney, and you think, well, yeah, you've got a bit unlucky there, perhaps. Apart from that, there's not really much else, really. So I don't know. I mean, Dean Henderson hasn't been playing enough, has he, really, to get picked? I mean, if he'd been playing for Forest in the Premier League last season, then he'd probably have a chance, wouldn't he? But he's not been playing enough, unfortunately. So
I think the three keepers as well. I mean, Pickford for England just is a different player to what he is at Everton. He's
yeah,
unstoppable. I think the thing with England is that some of the players seem to play better in the international setup than their club setup. So I think the keepers, I think Pope is and Ramsdale. They're probably the two keepers. Maybe in form wise in the Premier League, yeah, they should be going. But I think keeper wise, I think Pickford probably is going to be the number one, just because for England, unless he makes a mistake after mistake. I think the goalkeeping position is probably Pickford. I think Henderson. I think you're right. I think because last season he was it last season or season before he was on the bench at Man United. He should have been playing. He should have been the number one. He should have been. I know he had that interview at the start of the season about not being able to move and wanting that. But I think if he wanted to be on the plane to Qatar, he probably had to be more demanding of being a number one. You can't really be a number two and expect to get called up to a World Cup squad. So yeah, I think Henderson maybe in God, what year? I've lost track of what year the next one is. 2026.
yeah.
That should be his. Maybe the next Euros, next World Cup, he should be pushing for those two, because there's good competition now for goalkeeping. Because if Pickford struggles or isn't selected, you've got two other decent keepers to come in. Probably, I think the order will be Pickford, Pope, Ramsdale, but Henderson, I think, could potentially break into that, but I think he needs to be an established keeper week in, week out, Premier League for the next few seasons to establish himself. But he's definitely got that potential as a goalkeeper. I think he just, those few seasons on the bench at Man United may have just impacted that.
Well, it's a far cry to having Rob Green and David James and Paul Robinson
Exactly.
in the day. So
still have nightmares from that.
Oh God!
Being a keeper, you kind of like, it's one of those where you can feel it, but at the same time it haunts. Like, it's like, oh no, what could have been.
I mean,
on the world stage as well. You make a mistake.
Yeah,
that's it. You're famous for that reason. As you know, Rob Green never the same again, unfortunately.
No, and that you're right. I mean, one of the big debates for me is Harry Maguire. Now, for some reason, Southgate loves him. I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's basically, like a plumber on the Titanic. He's, not very effective. But I don't understand. He's not getting played for United at the minute. He's playing Martinez and he played Lindelof today. He seems to play Varane, but Maguire for me just doesn't. He doesn't really offer anything, and you know, and it goes back to the Tomori debate. You know, I would have picked Tomori over Harry Maguire any day of the week. He's for me, Maguire's not good enough to make that starting 11, but unfortunately, Southgate seems to like him and he seems to put his trust in him.
Well, I don't know. I think Maguire's playing for the wrong club. But if you put him back at Leicester, I think you'll see the real Harry Maguire. He does do it for England.
Yeah.
So I would have still taken him personally. Yeah, he's not been playing for his club. He doesn't deserve to be playing for his club. He's not been playing well enough.
No.
But he does do it for England, so I'd give him another chance in England, definitely.
Him and John Stones do work well together for England. The Euro 2020/21. I think the first goal they conceded was the semi-final.
Yeah.
That free kick. So they I think did Kyle Walker play in was it like a 3? Trying to think back now.
Yeah,
he played 5.
He does it well in a 3, yeah.
Yeah, and I think those two around him help him for the England setup. There seems to be a good when they go to England, they work well together. But when they go back to the clubs, like Maguire, probably gets that pressure taken off when he plays for England. But goes back to Man United, he's back on with the criticism and the pressure.
Yeah,
I think you're right about the club, and I think the captaincy doesn't help him. Didn't help him at the Man United, because not only are you playing for Man United, you're the captain week in, week out. If you make a mistake, it'll be focus number one, like on Sky Sports. They'll be zoned in on those kind of individual errors. But when he goes to England, he's like a different player, and it's like Euro 2021. You just didn't think England were ever going to concede. It was like a wall every game, and I think we'll probably see something similar in Qatar with that defensive line. I guess the fullbacks are where the question marks are. Do you play Trent Alexander-Arnold, or how do you form that? But I think for Maguire, I think he has to play with Stones and potentially Walker if he's fit in that 3. Because then just gives him that kind of maybe cover or that kind of confidence at the back. But I just think for England, there's a different mentality from Man United to England.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. I think he plays better. I think it's the formation you play him in. I think if you play him in the back 4, yes, he played that the Euros, and to be honest, he worked well, but I think he's better positioned playing in the back 3. I do think with that, it kind of hides his kind of vulnerability a little bit. I think when we played Germany in the Nations League, he was at fault for the penalty, the Musiala challenge. He got, but when you've got the likes of Stones and Walker, he might even play Eric Dyer for one game. I think Eric Dyer for the last 3 or 5 games, he's not been good enough. I think when I saw him against Liverpool, I thought he was poor. All right, he gave the goal to Salah, but that could be, potentially. But it's how you play with England. I think he'll may play a back 3, but I do think looking at it, I think like I say, you're right, Matt. I think the question marks with Trent is: do you play him as a wing back, or do you play him in a back 4? Is it or is Trippier more suited to play that way and playing that back 4 and kind of be better defensively than Trent? It's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. I think what maybe might help is Trippier can play left back. So if you did, you could have the 3, almost a back 3/5 with Trippier left back, Trent right back. You've then got cover with behind that, but I think with Trent, it might not be a back 4. I think you'd have to play someone to help cover. I think for Liverpool, he sometimes has that cover, or had that cover where players would fill in to allow him to go forward. But if on the international stage he gets caught out, it probably could lead to a goal. So I think if you're going to do that, you'd have to play Trent in the back five to allow him to go forward, but then have that cover behind, just to give that extra boost. I think Kyle Walker, probably one of the best players at doing that, at stopping counter attacks and coming across. But whether that's the case, we'll wait and see. But I guess as well depends on what he wants to do in front of that. If he has to play a back four to allow the formation ahead to work, because there's still so many players left to pick going forward, that is crucial as well. So the formation really is going to be key. Who play? I think like the Ivan Toney, he plays in the position where basically where Harry Kane's going to be playing. So he'll bring something different. I don't think he's missed a penalty, which in a tournament may come in handy. But yeah, I think the only player I can think that is hard done by is Ivan Toney. But I think there's still players there who, in the right position and on the right day, can do damage.
Do you think that England could play two up front rather, because they seem to play one up front with Kane, and it's been effective? But do you think, with Callum Wilson coming in, do you think they could play him alongside Harry Kane?
Possibly.
Yeah. I think he tends to go for the same kind of formation going forward. He likes to play players slightly wider. So you've got Sterling and
Foden.
Yeah. So you've got Kane up front on his own, but you could. I don't know if maybe Kane and Toney might be both quite similar up front, but yeah, I think potentially you could play. I think it could work alongside Harry Kane. I think it could help him out up there, but I think he likes to play kind of the wider players as well. But I guess if you're playing wing backs, could you adjust that to have an extra striker feeding off scraps potentially if you're getting balls into the box? But yeah, there's so many players that they can still choose from. I guess it's as well, the players there are quite similar to the previous tournament, I think. So whether it's going to be a similar lineup to just carry that on, but there's still threat in that team, whoever plays.
Definitely. But then, okay, let's go to the opening game of England then, Iran, very quickly then. What's your score predictions then?
2-0 England.
I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I think 2-1 England.
That's what I was going for.
I think that potentially similar to maybe the 2018 when they played Tunisia, the first game of the group. I feel like it's going to be one of those where it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a pretty game of football. But I just think England will just have too much. But I think it's going to be a tough one, and I think they may score. Whether they go 1-0 up and England respond, but I think it's going to be a tough one.
Well, £130 that night, that when we beat Tunisia.
It's important that we have to do a good start because obviously Southgate's had a lot of criticism over this last year.
Yeah,
with the Nations League performance and all that. I'm still behind Southgate all the way. But it's important we have to do a good start.
Yeah,
we have to beat Iran. If we beat Iran, I think we'll be fine. But
I think you're right.
Beat Iran. If
coming
we don't
off,
beat Iran, I think that's going to set the tone for what could be a poor tournament.
Coming off the Nations League, like you say, like if even if it's a draw, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, especially how the other game goes. I think if Wales get a result, so or you kind of on the back foot, and it will be tough for Southgate. The media will be tough on Southgate. I think they'll put pressure on, and so yeah, a good start is they need a good start. Otherwise, yeah, it will get quite tense, I think, and pressured on them. And it's going to be a hard group. The other teams like the USA, I think that's going to be another tough game. They always seem to do well, and obviously the Welsh, like that's going to be another. It's not an easy group, but if they can get through that, then there's nothing to say they can't go on. They didn't really do much in the group in the Euros last year. It was only when they played Germany that you kind of got that kind of spark from them. So if they can get through the group, who knows? But
Who knows, indeed.
But yeah, I think they just need to get out of the group. That's the basic. If they struggle, I think even if they don't start well, I don't think they get out of the group potentially.
Okay, final point then. England, where do you think they will finish then? Where do you reckon they'll get up to in the World Cup?
Semi-final. I'd be happy with that. I think the only way Southgate goes is if we exit the tournament in disgrace, like in the group stage.
Yeah.
Like losing, getting battered by somebody. If we lose to a team we shouldn't be losing to, like if we got out of the group and lost to Senegal, that isn't good enough. If we lose 4-0 in the quarterfinal, that's not good enough. If we lose 1-0 and we were the better team in the quarterfinal, that's okay. We'd be happy with that. You just don't want to leave in disgrace.
Yeah.
Like Iceland. Like not getting out of the
2014 World Cup as well was quite
Like, game.
Yeah, like South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't want to leave in disgrace, really. Because I'm still behind Southgate. I'll still be singing Southgate, you're the one, in the next month. But yeah, I think I'll be happy with semi-final if we gave it a good go. Don't lose on penalties again. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd be happy to get that far. I think we'll probably get to a quarter final. I think looking at potentially the route to the final, I think it's going to be a tough place to go and play, especially mid-season as well. It might be tough on the players, but I think really I want them to maybe get further. I want them to semi-final, similar to 2018, where the on the door, knocking on the door for the World Cup final. But
yeah.
I think there's other teams there that are strong, and yeah, I think I want them to get further. I think the quarterfinal stage is kind of like a minimum. I can see from if they get to quarterfinal, then it's like putting a safety net on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Like, I'm happy with that.
That's a very good example. I'm really impressed with that. Yeah, I'd say quarterfinals.
You've just lost. God, what are you saying, Scott? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, so I love your Jeremy Clarkson impression there. Yeah, I mean, quarterfinals, I think, has got to be for me. I think it's difficult. I think semi-final, I would definitely take that. I think it's going to be a hard tournament. I don't think we'll go to the final. I think for some reason, I think we just need to get over the hump for some reason with it. But I think quarterfinals, I think definitely we are better than most teams. I think you're right about the pressure. If we don't get off to a good start, then we're going to be in trouble. And it'll be even worse if we don't beat Wales, because the media will love that if we don't beat Wales, because they'll just say, you know, our fire wasn't, you know, the Dragon's fire was better than St George. But overall, I do think that, you know, it is, you know, I want to get behind England. Of course, I do. I really do. You know, over, you know, the World Cup and the Euros, they've made me believe. You know, I've caught up in hype like everyone has, but it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be tough. But yeah, quarterfinals for me, I think that's where we're going to be.
Interesting.
Yes, but we'll see. But yes, gentlemen, very, very appreciate you having this debate with me, and hopefully we'll do another one, because I think it's been really, really good. We'll debate some more topics. I think I've got a few more in mind that we can sit down and have a chat with. But if you enjoyed this, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, we'll be back with another debate. We'll see you very soon.
Ta-da.
Bye.